Hello. It's me, Strawberin0, and I'm reacting to Seth once again. Today he is taking a look at Stalker, and it's a game of my childhood that probably contributed to person I am today, which probably shouldn't have played that at a young age because some of the encounters with mutants from that game still haunt me in my fucking dreams today. Holy goddamn, what a great atmospheric game. Let's see what Seth has to say about it in his Stalker review.
Hey people, Seth here. After a long and healthy life, my old microphone now sounds like this. So, I had to put it down, and I got a condenser mic. I have no idea what I'm doing. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Today, I'll be covering Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl.
What the hell? Where the fuck is this recording from?
Actually, I lied. I'll be reviewing all of the Stalker games at once, and the novel this universe is based on.
I believe I actually
Picnic.
hadn't
Stalker's
played.
premise is very simple.
Actually, I hadn't played throughout all of the last game.
Delinquent Gopnik, who's just
I
broken
need
into
to
a
go back
fenced-off
and
exclusion zone in Chernobyl,
play through all of them
Ukraine,
before
which is actually based on a
Stalker
fictional
2 comes
country
out.
here in Europe. If a legend are true,
That statement didn't age well at fucking all.
the mythical nation of Ukraine produces most of the bootleg cigarettes and prostitutes we find in Europe today. But everyone knows this is just a fairy tale. However, in this world there was no nuclear meltdown, nor any subsequent cover-up by the infallible, benevolent Soviet Union. Instead of nuclear fallout, we have an expanding circle of land where the laws of physics don't apply, filled with all manner of strange anomalies and mutated wildlife that wants to kill you. Why did you come here? No one knows. Thousands of men serving hundreds of interest groups have come before you. What makes your ideology any different? Some claim they want to contain it, others study or even protect it from the outside world. In truth, there is no single rational answer. We have no reason to be here, but we're drawn to it, fascinated by it, and afraid of it. But no matter what, we can't resist its siren
that's
call.
just the Stalker
Welcome
experience.
The zone, while physical in the games, is more of a metaphorical concept. The zone represents our anxious and often fatal curiosity, our hopes and dreams, and ultimately, our darkest desires. Rumors of the zone spread throughout our planet, talk of mutants, weird events, and bizarre artifacts that defy our understanding begin to haunt everyone's imagination. And of course, the promise of treasure beyond your wildest dreams. Stalker is like the discovery of a new world. Everyone wants to go out into the great unknown and give smallpox to the Aztecs, and maybe even leave behind several dozen illegitimate mutant children which now lack a father. This is Seth reminding you that being a deadbeat dad isn't cool, even if your son is a malformed, hideous abomination
I love the
and an
designs
insult to
of
God's earth. Take
the
responsibility
mutants in
and kill him
Stalker.
yourself.
They are
As for the gameplay itself, it's a sandbox
extremely
survival
fucking
shooter, and it plays
original.
very tightly for a shooter. Most of the guns feel really good. When you're not shooting,
True.
you'll be exploring and investigating the world, avoiding anomalies
So
and trying to
just
get
a
those
solid
sweet
FPS
artifacts that justify the health risk.
with one of truly great early, I guess it's not technically open world, but you know, large open areas. I really think it was one of the more ambitious games of its time. Like, holy shit, the amount of things they put in.
The zone has its own black market economy.
And I have to say, this is one of the few games where they really managed to make the open world actually matter. In most games, open world doesn't fucking matter at all. You just going mission to mission to mission to mission. But in Stalker, there are a lot of optional anomalies and like monster dens that you encounter. And unlike other games where, you know, gold is aplenty and you just can ignore all of the open world activities later because you already have best weapons and armor, earning money in Stalker is heavily tied with exploration, taking out bandits, selling their weapons, of course you have to carry it around and you have limited weight. But more importantly, hunting for artifacts. And that really gives you a fucking reason to explore the world, to get that money, to get better armor, weapons, you know, make the encounters to come a little bit easier. It's such a simple trick, but it fucking works. It really is a world you want to explore. Unless you start hearing noises below the ground, then you want to get the fuck out of there, but you know.
Economy of selling artifacts back to governments, research groups, and private collectors. Sadly, you're at the bottom end of this lucrative pipeline. You're like a cocaine farmer in Colombia. Your life is short, miserable, and underpaid, and you're easily replaceable. The average artifact typically goes for about $20 on the black market, barely enough to restock your ammunition and buy some typical Slavic cuisine, canned tuna, kielbasa, and stale bread, and of course, Monster Energy Zero Ultra, the USSR drink of choice. For added immersion, I recommend eating Stalker cuisine in real life.
I personally like Ultra Fiesta Mango because it doesn't have calories and lets you stay fit, while still fulfilling your cravings of caffeine and sugar.
The house has all of the aforementioned dishes. My bread is just a little bit more fragrant than the zones. For even more immersion, you can try going outside. Who knows what sort of artifact lookalikes you'll find. Oh look, a gravy, and here's a stone blood, and here's a used hypodermic needle. These only appear in the extremely rare Junkie Crack Den anomaly. How curious. For Westerners, Stalker is a game about surviving a harsh, unforgiving place where there's no one to help or rescue you, human contact is limited, and you're left isolated from the outside world. For Slavs, Stalker is a simulation of everyday life, surviving a harsh, unforgiving place where there's no one to help or rescue you, human contact is limited, and you're left isolated
to say the enemy AI is
you
both
want the simulation to be
the
is based on the
stupidest
difficulty
fucking AI
yes,
I have
the four
ever
genders,
seen.
rookies,
and at a drop of a hat, they just go from fucking brain dead to masterminds that will encircle you and execute you on the spot. That is fucking crazy.
Stalker, Veteran, and Master. Lowering the difficulty results in more mutations in the people, as they develop genetic adaptations to bullet fire and employment. For this reason, it's completely fine to learn the game on Stalker difficulty, but if you find that firefights take too long, I recommend bumping it up to Master. It's a strange way to do difficulty, but it makes sense once you're comfortable with the mechanics. If you're interested in playing all the games, the natural order would be Shadow of Chernobyl,
really
Call of Pripyat, and then Clear Skies. If you only have time for one of them, play Pripyat. If you want,
I always play on the highest because it's the most risk-reward thing, where other games go the other way, and if you put the game on hard, enemies will have such inflated fucking pools of health. It's so annoying.
Want even more? Install Call of Chernobyl. It links every game map, and you can play as any faction, including bandits. It also removes almost all English voice acting from the game, which is far more fitting to the atmosphere, as there's many words to describe the average Russian, and bilingual is not one of them. Despite how hostile the zone is, it can also be quite comfy. Sitting around the campfire with other stalkers and listening to them play guitar and tell jokes in Russian is a very pleasant and homey experience, and gives you temporary relief from the choking isolation and dread you'll feel everywhere else. Admittedly though, bandit camps have some of the best music. Unsurprisingly, this game is pretty fucking spooky at times. The mutants of the zone grunt, squeal, and lunge at you with a moment's notice, and they have a habit of doing it whenever your guard is down. Luckily, some of the most dangerous mutants are extremely rare.
In a perfect world.
Yes, the infamous controller encounter in the first game.
Not exist.
I shit my pants as a kid
But this is
when
not a
I first saw this.
But surviving an encounter with one of them will leave you shaken and traumatized. Call of Pripyat is the most developed of the free titles. Hunting for artifacts becomes more than just platforming and throwing screws at vibrating pockets of air. You now have different devices to help you spot and locate artifacts invisible to the human eye, which now also appear inside and around the formation of different anomalies. One wrong move and you'll be torn apart, shocked, or incinerated. Luckily, some of the anomalies are much more benign and harmless than others.
Mark 1! What the hell?
In Call of Pripyat, they also added emissions. Emissions exist to make you shit your pants and disrupt whatever plans you had. These are incredibly violent energy storms originating from the Chernobyl National Power Plant. And if you receive a warning that a blowout's about to happen, you better get the fuck inside unless you want to die a horrible, horrible death. Anything and anyone who can't get to cover on time will be fried to a crisp, and that's if you're lucky. For those who weren't so lucky, they'll get back up and continue their routine as a hollow, unresponsive husk. The anomalies described in the book are much less forgiving. Accidentally rub against a transparent strand of web, you'll die from a heart attack hours later. Were you near the zone when the visitors came, you're forbidden from ever leaving, and you'll be shot on sight if you dare try, because whatever city you'll go to will be devastated by natural disasters until you die. The games in the book also diverge heavily in plot.
I don't think that's a very natural
the title of the book
disaster.
says it all. Visitors stopped by our world and left as quickly as they arrived, leaving behind their trash and waste, the remains of a messy picnic. But their trash is our treasure. Everything in the zone is fantastical and beyond our comprehension. Room temperature superconductors, invasive species of cotton, which exclusively grow on metal surfaces, and infinite batteries, which asexually reproduce, are just some of the wonders left by the visitors, who are so impossibly more advanced than us that we couldn't even catch a glimpse of what they are. In Stalker, the zone is a man-made disaster through some psychic pseudoscience bullshit, which I honestly suspect is just an excuse to make you go through the worst linear sections of a game, because Ivan spent a lot of time making those 3D models, and by God, you're gonna appreciate it. To summarize briefly, a bunch of scientists merged their brains together to form the C consciousness, a superior consciousness capable of changing the planet's novosphere, an informational field surrounding Earth, in order to remove negative emotions like anger, greed, and being a foot fetishist. Their interference
I'm fucking mixing up the titles. The first game.
Spawned the zone, which has been expanding ever since. To make matters worse, their efforts backfired. Foot fetishes were instead replaced by scat, and that extremely specific category of porn where the camera keeps zooming in to the guy's taint. Realizing what evil they've unleashed on the world, the scientists are now actively trying to contain the zone. In Shadow of Chernobyl, you can either help or kill them. In Clear Skies, you get brainwashed by them. In Call of Pripyat, you meet Strelok from the first game, and after he tells you that, canonically, he kind of killed the scientists and there's nothing to contain the zone anymore, everyone realizes it's time to get the fuck out of here. The ending section of each Stalker game universally sucks dick. Holy shit, let me go through narrow corridors where everyone is armed with futuristic hit-scan energy weapons that kill you if they hug your little toe. Hey, you can also keep replaying dialogue from the Wish Granter on repeat every few seconds. What an amazing, unforgettable experience, which I wish I never had. Once you reach the Chernobyl National Power Plant, do yourself a favor and format your hard drive, because that's going to be a much more fun experience than anything still in store for you. And while the rest of the game is universally enjoyable, there is one exception. Clear Skies. Most people abandon Clear Skies because it probably has the worst introduction to any game ever made. You start the game and get dumped in a shitty swamp, equipped with guns that can shoot for 3 meters before the bullets enter another quantum reality and vanish forever. At some point, you'll have to leave a shitty swamp. You might be tempted to fight the 2-3 billion bandits that procreate in the warehouses. You might even be tempted to take the exit shown on the map. Both of those will result in your death. Taking the indicated exit will put you right next to a military cordon where a machine gun will shred you to pieces. The correct thing to do is ignore the swamp, enter the cordon, see the machine gun, fuck off back to the swamp, and take the new exit, which is safely north of your original one. If you have the 200 plus IQ necessary to get past that rough beginning, Clear Skies is probably the hardest of the 3. The game does not give a shit how much it throws at you, but holy fuck, it has some of the best and most drawn out firefights I've ever experienced in a single player shooter. Of course, in terms of atmosphere, the first game really set the tone. It's never too much, it's just the right dose of Soviet-era depression bleeding into your senses. Just keep in mind that the base game took 1 billion patches to actually run stably half the time. Smacking mods on top of that is just asking for trouble. XR Engine is an engine that may work one day and blue screen the next. Its internal workings are a subject of speculation and mystery, even to the Ukrainian computer engineers who originally coded it using Microsoft Paint on Windows Bandera. The engine is sensitive, fragile, and fickle. And if it really completely stops working, I recommend you roll back your NVIDIA drivers, which somehow magically fixes everything. I understand that this is the most poorly structured and ill-advised review I've ever made, but I thoroughly recommend every Stalker game, and I especially recommend you to read Roadside Picnic. You can buy a copy of each game for about $1 a piece, and the English translation of the book is of course available
I don't
online
remember
for
that
free.
happening in my playthrough.
And capturing the feeling and tone of them is not something you can recreate by video alone. It's a lot of fun and well worth experiencing at least once in your life. And if you've already experienced it, well, there's still more mods out there than you can play in a single natural lifespan. As always, more content to come, so stay tuned. That content will be better structured. A warm thank you to the many members of the Merchants Guild, generously funding and bankrolling these videos. You're all wonderful. Have a good one.
Fuck is that video? Seth always finds the weirdest fucking videos to put into his reviews. I believe he had to re-upload one of his recent reviews. I don't know if it was Deep Rock Galactic or not, because it had that clip of a puking kid that was getting hit with a fucking belt by his mother. And he had to remove the video because he got a strike, but my channel is so fucking small that YouTube doesn't care, so I still have the original on my channel. And that really cracked me up. Stalker is a fucking mood. It's such a great game. I recommend it to, I would say anyone, but some of people watching this, the so-called Zoomers, will probably open up the game, realize the shooting mechanics are not like their Call of Duties, and immediately turn it off. Or sometimes the game also requires you to explore, and you know, to get certain treasures you have to parkour and actually look around and find it, so it might not be for everyone, but it's a great game and I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend subscribing my channel and liking this video if you liked this video, and of course following Seth for more of his amazing content. Thank you very much for watching.